Hey, and welcome to the second video in the appNovi user guide video series. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about how to use appNovi search. By default, appNovi has the search bar, which you can search based on text or properties. We'll talk a little bit more about how to do that. And there's also a number of other tools over here to help manage the workspace, as well as a number of pre-done queries that you can run. In our last video, you saw our recent data query, which will pull whatever data was last added in the last 10 to 15 minutes. You have a recent network activity, and if you're ingesting NetFlow, firewall logs, or anything else into appNovi, you can search for the latest flows that have been ingested into your workspace. Our random things query, which goes and takes a look at the database and grabs a number of components and connections that you might be interested in. I'm going to clear the workspace, and you can also see this other thing right here called Autofocus. If we click into this, there's a number of pre-canned queries that uses our graph and other detection models to look for specific findings in your appNovi database. Things like cluster detection, top clients by flows, top servers, any clear text protocols, orphan components, meaning anything that's been added but does not have a connection in the database. And we have a pre-canned query that looks for critical CVEs attached to assets that have internet connectivity. I'm going to go ahead and clear this out, and we're going to go to the search bar. The search bar, by default, lets you search for anything based on text. So if you search 192, it'll show you IP addresses that have 192 in it. It would also come up with CVEs that contain 192, VM names that contain 192. You can click anything in the search bar, and appNovi by default will add it to the workspace. So if I was to search for something else, such as a CVE, and click it, it would also be added into the workspace. A quick tip on how to use search more efficiently is if you ever want to search for something and start over just with that in the workspace, hold left control on your keyboard and click whatever component that you have interest in. The workspace will be cleared out automatically and you'll be brought to that single component. Another quick tip about using the appNovi search is that instead of searching just by text, we do have a property search feature. If you enter an open square bracket and say if I type R7, all of the different Rapid7 properties that are attached to components will start to come up. So if I was to say Rapid7 OS, maybe I wanted to know about Ubuntu assets in my environment, it would start to bring up any asset I see that Rapid7 sees that has or contains Ubuntu in its R7 operating system. Once things are added into the workspace, you can start to expand, you can start to look through different features, you can look through the property card in the graph. Here's what AWS says about this asset versus Rapid7. You can see CVE details here. Could further expand on that if something else is contained there. Or if we select everything, you can multi-select nodes by, again, holding left control and then dragging over each asset. You'll notice this nifty toolbar comes up down here at the bottom. You can add things to applications, rearrange things how you may see fit, remove them altogether from the workspace, find connections between these different components. Or what we're going to click here is Expand All, which looks at all the different connections of everything that's currently in my workspace. You could continue to do that to grab more data, and you could see an overview of this entire AWS environment. To clear your workspace, you could click again, Clear Workspace under the toolbar. To view it as a tabular form, you can click the tabular button at the top. You can click into any component by clicking this left arrow and seeing what every pane of glass says about each asset. The tabular view is searchable by text. So you can search for just AWS. I could search for US East, and that'll come up. You can export to CSV from the appNovi workspace, which I've done here. And you can also export this space going back here as an image, either a PNG, an SVG, the entire workspace, or just the current zoom level that you're looking at. Lastly, workspaces are meant to be shareable, so you can take what we call snapshots of these data. I'm going to highlight here. I'll call this appNovi user guide video number 2 and save it. This will let you clear the workspace, and if you ever want to come back to that exact snapshot and that point in time of the data you were looking at, you can simply click on it and you'll be brought back to the same zoom level, and the historical data will be preserved as well. There's also a shareable link for every snapshot that you can copy and Slack to a teammate on your team. That's all for this video, and look forward to the next one.